Welcome to Conversations with Educators, where we bring educators from across the country to talk about topics like college and career readiness, graduation tracking, teacher growth, assessment coordination, and more. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Robbie Grimes. I'm one of the customer success managers here at Education Advanced. Thanks for joining us for Conversations with Educators. Today's meeting is specifically about the four-year planner, kind of how that happens, why that happens, and I'll share this slide with you, what's missing in your four-year plans, and some ideas for clear audits, and so you have fewer surprises when you're thinking about planning and helping your students plan for the next steps in their education career. Let me talk just a little bit about our agenda today. I will first introduce today's conversation, auditing four-year plans, catching graduation issues early and making sure students are in the classes they need to be in, reducing errors, covering your back when you need to make sure that students are in the classes they need to be in, saving time, which who doesn't need to save time? Let's make that clear. And then we'll have some time of some Q&A if you guys have questions and things that you want to ask of our presenter. With me today, I have Mia Finch, who is also one of our customer success managers. She might be yours, depending on who you are and where you are in Texas or in Indiana. As well as we have Sarah Black. Sarah Black is a counselor for Randolph Eastern School Corporation. And I will let her introduce herself to you here in just a moment, but we're going to kind of go through this very informally. If you've got questions, please make sure that that you use the Q&A tool in the Zoom window. Go ahead and put those in there. Mia is going to be taking a look at that Q&A and monitoring that when questions, if questions come in. But this is very informal. Just ask a question if you need to. If we need clarification, we might be able to unmute your microphone, but go ahead and type those in the Q&A area and we'll keep those questions going. Otherwise, I'm going to turn this over to Sarah, who will introduce herself and then kind of talk just a little bit about how four-year planner is important to her and kind of what they're doing at Randolph Eastern to move forward with the four-year planner charge. Sarah?
All right. Well, thank you, Robbie, for the introduction. Like you said, my name is Sarah Black. I am at Randolph Eastern. That is a small school in Indiana. I'm a 7 through 12 counselor. I'm also our work-based learning coordinator, and I do our career coaching. So I started work-based learning and career coaching, and then I've moved more into a counselor role this year, along with that work-based learning and career coaching. So there are a number of things that overlap among those different roles. And so the world of four-year planners has landed in my lap this year. And for those of you that are familiar with four-year planners, obviously this is a big undertaking. And as I said, we're 7 through 12. Our diplomas have changed here in Indiana. So we have our 7th, 8th, and 9th graders who are on one diploma, and our 10th, 11th, and 12th graders who are on a different diploma. So tracking that has also been different as well, because you're tracking different classes based on which grade level they're in to align with whichever diploma they are going after, because of the new diploma that is now in play for Indiana. So I have not, again, been in this role very long. My tracking for students has typically been with work-based learning. I have tracked students' graduation as far as if they're on track to graduate and working with them to stay in the program for work-based learning. And that's just become bigger as I have now moved into this counselor role. A lot of people use spreadsheets for tracking. We have used the SFS Pathways program for tracking. I have really enjoyed using that. I feel like it's been very good as far as being able to really be efficient in figuring out what do our students need, what classes are they still missing, and what classes do we need to put them in for the next couple of years. So we typically meet with students their 8th grade year and create those four-year planners. And then each year we will sit down with those students, reevaluate those planners, look at those planners again, talk about classes that will or will not be offered and which ones will fulfill the requirements that they still need for the next school year. And we like to do that before scheduling so that when they do their scheduling, they know what classes they're going to be looking to register for. You know, it is a lot. I don't know what everyone's situation is as far as what your counselor to student ratio is. We have just under 400 students here at Union City, 7 through 12. So we are tracking all of those students. And once we get those 4-year planners though in 8th grade, it's so much easier for the rest of their high school career, because then it's just a revisit. You know, we look at it and we just say, okay, you said that you wanted to pursue this CTE pathway and you wanted to take these English classes to fulfill your English requirements, and you're on track for these ACP courses or whatever it might be. And it's really just a review meeting at that time. But having those 4-year planners in place not only have allowed me to get to know students better and figure out what their path is, but also to help them find a pathway that best aligns with their interest. On top of that, tracking for graduation is huge. Before I was in this role, we actually had students who they found, okay, this student doesn't have their government class and they graduate in 2 weeks. So how do we get them their government grade? Because they weren't enrolled in a government class, or they're missing an English credit, which we found at the beginning of this year when we went through each of our students. And I'm sure that you guys are doing that as well. So the program that I've been using, and like I said, has helped me with that because I'm new to this game. And it has aligned those classes, because prior to this, I actually just did this because I wanted to double check, but many of you probably, I have a handy dandy, like, I don't know if you can see this, but kind of, it's just a little, basically it is a piece of paper that has all of our classes, and it says, here's 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and I laminated it so I could cross them off for each student and say, yeah, they're on track. And that is not very time efficient when you're doing that for 400 students every year. And, you want to go through your seniors multiple times just to make sure you don't miss anything. And it's not very efficient to do that. So it's important to be able to have those 4-year planners to track those, so you can find those issues early in order to make sure that students are not caught off guard. And parents, that was a big issue too. Parents are like, how did this happen? How did my kid not get their English credit? How did you guys not find this? So that has been a huge, I think, leap as far as the efficiency of being able to keep those 4-year planners and what we're doing. Robbie, if you want, I know you said you had that pulled up. If you want to pull up the 4-year planner and kind of just show that. Like I said,
absolutely. The users who are on the call are immediately are from Indiana, but this 4-year planner looks similar to those. If you're watching the webinar later, it looks similar to this same thing for Texas as well. It works similarly. Obviously, there's different specific graduation requirements, but you can do the functionality the same in Texas as you can in Indiana. So Sarah, I'll just go ahead and kind of drive, and you can just chat a little bit about how you're doing things. But also how Pathways does things as well.
Perfect. So this is what I do with students. I just sit down and I say, okay, we also have aligned up there in the top left under Mary's name where it says diploma. We have went through and we've aligned each diploma with what our track looks like at our school. So for example, if you are in honors enrollment SEAL track, then you're going to be taking honors English 9, honors English 10, honors English 11, and then in your senior year it's going to be ACP speech, lit, and comp. So once we select that enrollment honors SEAL diploma or whatever else diploma that we have aligned all of our classes with, it automatically populates that, which has been really nice because it has taken some time to do that. And on the spreadsheets, when we were using spreadsheets, what they had before, you're typing each of those things in each year and aligning those. Over on the right where it says requirements, it's easy for me to see. And I've noticed that sometimes something may not pull in for what I want. So if you just go ahead, Robbie, if you would just click on the trash or the edit on 12. So if I wanted to click on, say, speech, and then over on the right in that pull down menu, I can actually align that to something different. So I can align that to the communications. So that's not something that I was able to do in a spreadsheet feature. So that has been helpful because the spreadsheets could get, I'm a spreadsheet person. I have spreadsheets for everything. I have spreadsheets to pack for vacation. So my spreadsheets could get pretty detailed and pretty intricate. And so this has been much more efficient, I think, for me. And if you're not using this and you're just using spreadsheets, that's great. Just make yourself, maybe you can do a pull down menu because that is something that you can do. But that feature has been really nice. So you can go ahead and close out of that, Robbie. And then we just go through with each student and kind of, make sure that everything's either on target or they have the trophy that says you've completed this. If they're missing something or we see that red, like you see in the science department, we figure out what they're missing, why they're missing it, and we work that into their planner. Another thing that we, and obviously many of you probably do this as well, but at the end of a semester, we go through our failing grades. And when we go through those failing grades, if students aren't automatically enrolled into that class, it's like, okay, we got to make sure we remember to put them in this class next year in the fall. So with the 4-year planner, regardless of what you're using, you're able to go back in and you need to put that, if they've failed biology A, then put biology A into sophomore year. So this kid did not pass biology A. They need to retake that class so that it isn't a forgotten class, because that is an important piece of that. And that helps to prevent that, oh my goodness, here we are 3 weeks from graduation and this kid somehow got lost in the cracks and is missing a biology credit. So going back from those failure lists and going through and making sure, and I know those can stack up because sometimes you have kids that fail 5 or 6 classes in a semester, but putting that work in on the front end, I think will be helpful on the back end. So that is kind of how we're using the 4-year planners and how it has benefited us as far as tracking students. And just, we have already seen where tracking these students has been able to help us prevent just this year students from getting lost in the cracks. So the importance of that is pretty great.
All right. Thanks for kind of just, explaining, Sarah, the way that you use the 4-year planners and why and kind of the how and that type of thing. That's amazing that you've now kind of saved yourself some time with how you use your 4-year planners, and you're not using a laminated check sheet anymore, and you're using tools that you have available to you to make sure that things are done. I did want to ask you, you already answered a couple of these. We had some pre-populated questions because you've answered several of these questions that we had already with the answers that you gave. So what's one early warning sign that you now watch for that helps you catch graduation or course request issues before they become urgent? You kind of alluded to that, and making sure that a kid is in all of those. But how do you use this to do that?
To check the. Hang on just a second. Sorry, I had a student walk in.
Yep, no problem.
Can you repeat that question, Robbie?
What's the early warning sign that you now watch for that helps you catch graduation or course request issues before they become, 3 months before graduation?
Okay, so we actually also have been using the diploma progress tool, which has been something that has been super beneficial to us, that kind of aligns with that 4-year planner. You can see, we've been using them together a lot because you can see exactly how many credits depending on what, and at the top there, if you scroll back up, it's been easy for us to say, okay, they're not going to do the Indiana diploma. They're thinking about the employment diploma or the honors employment plus. What else do they need? And it's easy. We can just click on it. It doesn't change anything as far as the rest of their information. It just shows how close they are. So I've done that a couple times with students and said, hey, you're 1 credit away from an academic honors, so that has been super helpful too. But that diploma progress, I think using that with the 4-year planner and saying, okay, they still need to get 3 math credits. Let's go put that into their 4-year planner right now, figure out how it's going to fit into their schedule, what grade it's going to go into. And once you plan that, once you get that 4-year planner set, then it's essentially just making sure that if they're not passing, you're re-entering those into that 4-year planner and making sure that they get it's back into the schedule. So if they do fail, then you've already accounted for them taking it again.
And I think that's going to become even more like apparent what you said, but just as we've been working with districts, these seals have academic implications too, right? A kid needs to take this many credits of a foreign language or something like that. If they just switch seals, it's not just the other things, right? It's the credits that matter. And so being able to have that lined out specifically here to me feels like a big deal. Not just in pathways, but like wherever people are tracking that, I think that's a big deal because it's so comprehensive and it's new to everybody.
Absolutely. Just a couple more questions. How do you balance accuracy in graduation plans with the reality of limited time, staffing changes, shifting student schedules, that type of thing? Like making sure that things are in line, like obviously staffing changes, your course catalog changes based upon staffing and what you can offer and those types of things. But how do you balance that accuracy in graduation plans with all of these things that you got to deal with?
Yeah. So I think one of the things, your base classes are pretty simple. Those, as far as your base classes go, a lot of times stay the same. One thing that we have had changed is, for example, we've been offering some 1-semester English classes like creative writing and film lit, and those are actually going away next year. So we're no longer offering those for students. So I think we're going to start seeing some issues where we just have 9, 10, 11, 12 English, and students who are in 12th grade that have failed English 10, they used to be able to take like film lit and things like that, but those things aren't going to be offered anymore. So I know that we can, as far as accuracy goes, as far as classes that are offered, I don't know if this answers your question, Robbie, but I know it's on this platform, we have used the course scheduler where we can put classes that are being offered and take away classes that are being offered for the years. So we've done that. So because I found myself scheduling kids for classes that don't actually exist anymore. And so then I've had to go in and move those classes, and you've had to go in and move my students to different classes. So that has been, I think it is a challenge because you don't know what you're going to, especially in a small school. I don't know, I can't speak for a larger school, but in a small school, we don't know what classes we're going to be able to offer year to year because of staffing. We may be down to the bare bones, or we may have a couple teachers. Maybe it was an English teacher that had an extra period. Maybe this year it's a math teacher or it's a science teacher. So the free period that we have now is moved from an English class to a science class. So keeping that, the courses that are available in the 4-year planner up to date is important, I think, for us. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, if you're coming in here and you're looking at the 11th grade, English, you've got all of the offerings that you have here, plus any future ones you're talking about. And you want to be sure that those are all correct, because you've put a student here in a class that you're not offering, but you thought you were because of staffing, and now you're not. You do have the job of going in and making sure that your course catalog is correct and that courses that you offer are correct, because you can also have your students come in and make course requests. Like
Yes.
down here, the students requesting, that's what the little heart means, German 3 and
Mhm.
German 1. This right here just means that the counselor has approved German 2 and German 4 right here. The counselor has approved those. That's what that means. So when you take a look at these other ones, the little computer just means that's a default course. Economics and government are two senior classes, which is why they're in the social studies place. So yes, making sure that the course catalog is correct is incredibly important, so that you don't have to wonder. You've already set that your course catalog is what it should be, and that the courses that are offered here in social studies are the courses that you actually offer. So that accuracy is important for time saving and also staffing and making sure that you know who's going to be there to be able to teach those classes. So yeah, I appreciate that answer.
Also say, just for a different perspective, I think we have mostly counselors on the call, but from an administrator perspective, like being able to look in the future and get this out as an aggregated report and say, like, if I am hiring somebody, I need to make sure like they're certified to do this because Sarah has, 100 kids that are needing to take this course their junior year. I think it can inform other areas, like outside of counseling. You're creating a data set that's really useful for the school as a whole, which is a big deal. Again, like as the administrator who is hiring people, helps you hire the right people.
Yeah.
So I love that.
So we've got about 5 minutes left in our half-hour time frame here. I've got one last question for you, Sarah. Outside of the Pathways tool, you certainly can, talk about how you use that. But if you could give advice to someone who has or doesn't have this particular tool, what would be your advice to that counselor who's trying to reduce like the springtime scramble? Like in spring, when you're trying to schedule all these students, you've got all the classes, you've got all the students, you've got to meet with each of them, or you have to get their request. Where should that person start from your unique position of being new to this? Like now that you're kind of going through it, what would you recommend to someone who may be new to it also regarding like, would you start with their process, or would you start with people, connecting with other people, students, a tool, something like that? What do you think?
So if I were starting this over, knowing now what I knew, knowing now, if I knew what I knew now back then when I started,
Yeah.
what I would do is definitely meeting with kids to start. I think connecting with the students and just getting to know them. We actually have a document that we sit down with every student, and it just says something along the lines of, what are your interests? What do you like to do outside of school? What are your career interests? And we also, one other thing that we've put on this paper that I think has been a valuable tool is, if you were looking for advice, if you had something going on at home or something going on at school, and you just really needed to talk to someone about that, what adult in this building would you feel comfortable going to talk to about that? And the reason that I think that that's important and that pertains to this is because now you, as a counselor, have a name of a person that this student feels comfortable talking to. So if you have questions about this student, like, hey, this student says they like this class, or they don't like this class, or they spend a lot of time in your classroom, what have you seen as far as their ability to take this honors course? And so you have an adult person that you can connect with to talk to about that student, but you also know if that student's having a bad day, or if they just need help with something and your plate is full, you can say, hey, would you mind talking to this student about their 4-year planner, or about this class, and gauge their interest, and then let me know what they're thinking. So that small document, and then we create that, talk with them when they're in junior high, and then that document stays with them throughout high school. We just update it. So that document has been helpful. And then just creating those 4-year plans early, because then I think that it makes the scheduling so much easier. And I know that I'm like, I don't have time to do those right now because I have all of these other things to do. But looking back, I wish I did some of those, but I wish that I would have spent more time sitting down specifically with my 8th graders, because they've never done, we're using Power School, and they've not done Power Scheduler. They haven't requested, they've always done it on paper. So we're doing that is new this year too.
Yeah.
So spending more time with them just to help them understand and to ease any anxiety that they might have about that. But once they know you and know that you're the person that they can talk to about classes and have questions about, and it's not just okay, you're going to graduate, you're good to go, but you're checking and you're saying, hey, what's that grade that you have to get and which class is it in? And they're like, it's a 73 in third period, because and you have that connection with them. Those kids it's going to be easier for them to come to you and say, hey, I think I'm supposed to have another English class. So if you do miss something, they can be advocating for themselves and they feel comfortable doing that when they come to you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Hey, Sarah, I'm so glad that you actually brought that up as far as the relationship and the connection with students, because as educators, Mia and I, we know also the benefit and the beauty of being able to sit across the desk from a student and actually have a relationship with them and be able to talk with them. Whereas, how often do you as counselors get into the position where you feel like you're just pushing and creating and moving data along, and you're really not doing the job of being a counselor and offering counsel to a student? So what we do here at Education Advanced is we create solutions that can allow you and afford you the time to be able to do that. So when you're taking a look at pathways, we're trying to take things off of your plate. Now, at the beginning, yeah, it does kind of seem like we're putting some things on your plate, setting it up and all that type of stuff. But if you're able to utilize the 4-year planner and not have to do paper and not have to search for these types of things, and it's more convenient for you so that you can, let's be honest, we all work outside of our work time, and especially educators. If you can get online from home and pull up what you need to have pulled up and work, it's absolutely available with Pathways. The same thing with Test Hound, which is the testing organization tool for all of the testing data. And then evaluation is just is another product that we offer for administrators and educators to be able to make better educators, which ultimately makes better students if you have better educators in the classroom. So Sarah, I kind of just want to tie that into that was the right answer. Wanting you as a counselor to be able to have time to sit down and actually chat with your students and not have to push as much data as you're being asked to do is really the goal of Education Advanced, so that you can get back to what you do best, and that's talking with students and helping them be successful. Any last minute recommendations, anything like that you have, Sarah? You kind of gave that in your last question that I asked. So yeah. Mia, anything else you want to add?
No, just thanks y'all for being here. And I know other people will watch the recording, but Sarah, thanks for just giving your perspective. I always feel like when people come to these things, even when I come to these things, you glean little bits of knowledge, like different things that people are doing that can help support kids, which is the whole goal. So we really appreciate your time.
Yep. Thanks so much, everyone. And take care. Have a great afternoon, and keep working towards making students successful.
Yep. Thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you want to learn more about college and career readiness, graduation tracking, teacher growth, assessment coordination, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Until next time.